Welcome everyone to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're pulling back the curtain a bit, getting right inside the Springboks thinking.
Yeah, specifically looking at their strategy for 2025. We've got this interesting piece from Planet Rugby.
That's the one, with some direct insights from Rassie Erasmus himself. It's really fascinating stuff.
It is. It sets up this complex balancing act they've got ahead of them.
Exactly. So our mission, if you like, for this deep dive is to really unpack that. What's Rassie saying about juggling, winning right now versus building for the next World Cup in 2027?
And what does that actually mean on the ground? For the players, the coaches.
And for you, the fans watching it all play out, it's quite the strategic tightrope.
The Planet Rugby article, it frames it well, talks about Erasmus's sort of warning for the year, highlights just how tricky this balance is.
So stick with us, and by the end of this, you should have a much clearer picture of the strategic game the Boks are playing this year. You'll get the why behind maybe some surprising decisions down the line.
Definitely.
And hey, if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives into rugby strategy, do us a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive wherever you're listening.
Yeah, that way you won't miss out when we drop the next one.
Okay, so let's get into it. This core philosophy of the Springboks under Rassie.
Right. It's built around these very distinct four-year cycles, almost like clockwork.
Everything points towards the World Cup. Selections, training. It's all geared towards peaking for that tournament.
And you can't argue with the results, can you? 2023 was the perfect example.
Absolutely. People might forget now, but the years leading up to it, 2020, 2021, 2022, the form wasn't always perfect. There were, wobbles.
Yeah, some losses, experiments, things that maybe made fans a bit nervous.
But when it mattered, in France, they delivered. That planning, that cycle, it culminated in lifting the Webb Ellis Cup again. Incredible fourth time.
That's the key takeaway, isn't it? The World Cup is the destination. The journey there involves, calculated risks and building phases.
And coming off 2023, they kept the foot down in 2024.
They really did. The article points this out. 11 wins from 13 tests, won the Rugby Championship. It's pretty formidable right after a World Cup win. Shows the system's strength.
Sure, no resting on laurels there.
Yes.
But now, 2025. This is where it gets really interesting. This is the core challenge.
Right. They have to keep winning, keep that momentum going, stay at the top level.
And it's a big but. They also need to start seriously bringing through the next wave of players. The guys will be key in 2027.
And that's the tough bit. How do you maintain that winning consistency, which often relies on experience and known combinations?
Yeah, players who've been there, done that.
While also giving crucial game time to younger, less experienced players. There's always a risk there, in the short term at least.
In 2024, as the article notes, they mostly stuck with World Cup winners. We sprinkled in a few new faces.
Yeah, a gradual introduction.
Yeah.
But now, 2025, that sprinkle needs to become more of a steady flow.
And the pressure to win hasn't gone away. If
Nope.
anything, it's maybe even more intense this year for one very specific reason.
Ah, yes, the big one. The link between winning now and the 2027 World Cup, even though it feels a way off.
It's all about the draw, isn't it?
Exactly. The article makes this crystal clear. The draw for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, the one that sorts out the pools, that's happening at the end of this year, end of 2025.
And your seeding for that draw, it comes directly from your World Rugby ranking at that point in time.
So slip down the rankings by the end of 2025.
And you risk landing in a nightmare pool, a pool of death.
Right. Facing maybe 2 or 3 other top teams just to get to the knockouts, that makes life incredibly difficult. We've seen how much seeding matters.
It's not about ducking teams, but about giving yourself the best possible pathway, especially in the early stages.
Precisely. So staying high in those rankings isn't just for show. It's a strategic imperative for 2027. They need top seeding.
Which means every single test match this year, in 2025, suddenly has this huge significance for ranking points.
And this pressure, this dilemma, is exactly what Rassie Erasmus tackles head-on in that Planet Rugby piece.
He lays it out pretty plainly.
Yeah, he's quoted saying something like, getting the balance between building and continuing to win in 2025 is the most important thing because the World Cup draw is at the end of the year.
That just sums it all up, doesn't it? The future depends on the present because of that deadline.
He also warns about losing momentum. Says if they don't keep winning, it hampers the building process for the next game.
Uses that phrase. Something like losing momentum means taking one step back before you can take 2 steps forward.
Yeah. It signals that, look, development is vital, but it can't wreck performance. Dips in form cost ranking points, and they can be hard to recover from.
But, and this is important, he stresses they aren't just going to chuck games away.
No, definitely not. The article quotes him saying they won't be throwing any test matches. The planning is meticulous for every single fixture.
Our planning has to be right for every test, he says. That shows the detail they go into.
But he adds that touch of realism, too, you know, acknowledging that another team could always disrupt their plans.
Right, says something like, you never know if a team will come along that will put a stop to them. Shows confidence, but also respect for the opposition. You always have to be ready to adapt.
So this whole strategic challenge, win now for rankings, build for 2027, it hits the ground running immediately.
Yeah, the upcoming July tests are the first big checkpoint.
Yeah.
The article details the schedule.
Kicks off with the Barbarians game, which is often a chance to experiment a bit more.
Traditionally, yeah. Bit more freedom, but that...
Then it gets serious. 2 full-blooded tests against Italy back-to-back, followed by Georgia.
And it's interesting how Erasmus in the article really focuses on Italy. He's managing expectations there, clearly.
He is. He points out that while people might just assume easy Bok wins...
He remembers how tough Italy were early in the Six Nations this year. They pushed Ireland hard, beat Scotland, beat Wales.
Yeah, he notes their depth was maybe the issue later on compared to, say, France or Ireland. But their starting team, very capable.
He also mentions Italy will have had a warm-up game before they play the Boks, so they'll be match ready.
And compliments their defense in the Six Nations, too. Calls it courageous. So you can't just expect to roll over them.
So those Italy tests are far from simple warm-ups. Erasmus says they need to play in a way that keeps everyone maintains their confidence in the Boks.
Right. It's not just about the win for the rankings. It's about showing that bringing in new players doesn't lower the standard. It's about reinforcing belief.
Which loops right back to this core puzzle. How do you give young guys test minutes for 2027, crucial experience?
When you absolutely need the wins now for the 2027 draw seeding, how do you pick that team?
It's fascinating. Do you start a youngster, surrounded by veterans? Bring them off the bench in tight moments.
Every single selection has consequences, both immediate and long-term.
And this is where we really want to bring you, the listener, into it. Just think about that challenge for a second.
Yeah, put yourself in Rassie's shoes. You need wins this year for those ranking points. You also need to get players ready for 2027. What's the priority?
How would you balance selection for these July games? Go full strength for the points. Or take some calculated risks, blood some new talent, even if it slightly increases the chance of a slip-up that could hurt the ranking.
It's a really tough one. No easy answers.
We'd genuinely love to hear what you think. How would you approach it? Drop us your thoughts, your opinions. It really adds to these discussions.
Absolutely. Hearing different perspectives is great.
And speaking of community and perspectives, just that quick reminder again, if you're enjoying this kind of analysis, please do subscribe to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Helps us keep doing what we do.
Okay, so let's sort of wrap this up. Looking back at the Planet Rugby article and Rassie's comments.
The big picture is the Springboks are walking this incredibly fine line in 2025.
A real tightrope. Needing wins now for the 2027 draw seeding.
While also fast-tracking the development of the players needed to defend the title in 2027. It's a dual imperative.
It makes 2025, maybe, one of the most strategically important non-World Cup years ever for them.
Yeah.
Purely because of that ranking deadline.
Every game counts double, in a way. Immediate result, future impact.
So here's the final thought, the provocative question maybe, to leave you with.
Can they actually pull it off? Can they successfully weave in this new generation of players without dropping the performance level, without sacrificing that winning momentum that is just so vital for their 2027 seeding?
It's a massive strategic test. Masterful planning needed.
Yeah.
And we'll see it unfold, game by game, selection by selection, over the next few months. It's going to be absolutely captivating.
Definitely one to watch closely.
Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Yeah, I hope this look at the Boks 2025 challenge was insightful for you.
We really look forward to you listening to our next episode.
And one last time, if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for Rugby Obsession wherever you get your deep dives. Cheers.